Hey everyone, this is Pramita here, and finally I have adjusted a kind of setup for my filming things because my husband is still working from home, and we live in a very big city with very limited space, and I don't have a craft room per se, but I just use space in my son's room to craft along. And filming I do the filming stuff elsewhere, so that working space has been completely taken over by my husband since he's working from home, and that's the least I can do right now. So I have come up with a different filming situation whereby I can do my videos and he can have his own working space. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a series on how I make these tiny paper bag journals. Now I have been getting a lot of questions about these, and a lot of questions about these. Now I had repurposed some mini paper bags that I had received some grocery in a while back. So but if you don't have access to this, you can get a similar effect by making a faux sort of mini paper bag, because once you glue everything up, once you collage, you won't be able to you won't be able to find out that whether it was a grocery bag or not, mini paper bag or not. So you can do that. So I'm going to show you how you can create the same look without having access to a paper bag. And another thing, these paper bags are pretty flimsy, so if you plan on using them on a cover, you'll have to reinforce. So what I did was I used a piece of burlap sandwiched between the two layers of the the sides of the paper bag. But the one that I'm going to use now, or I'm going to make now, does not will not have a burlap piece, because the paper itself is pretty sturdy, and I don't think it's going to need any burlap inside, because otherwise it's going to become very stiff, and it has to be a little bit pliable to be to be sewn around and form a cover. So what I'm going to do is sorry, I have some glue over here. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can make this type of journals without having a paper bag. You can simply use some packaging or craft paper packaging if you have. I have a roll of craft paper for packaging, and I'm going to use that. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of paper. I'm going to give you the dimensions. If you want to follow that, it's good. Okay, so I have cut down two sizes. So I'm going to show you the smaller one first, and I'm also going to give you the dimensions of the bigger one, but we're going to work on the smaller one. So we're going to make it from the scratch, so it's going to be like a long process, and there's going to be a lot of parts to this. So this is just the introduction and the first part, you can say. So I am trying to get my pencil, which I can't seem to find, obviously. Anyways, I'm going to give you the dimensions. Just a second. So I'm going to give you the dimensions of the smaller one, and what I've done is basically I've taken a large craft paper and I've folded it in half, because if you fold this in half, it's going to give a little bit of sturdiness to the cover, and being a paper used for shipping or wrapping stuff or packaging, so this is pretty sturdy, it's not going to go anywhere, but it's also a little bit pliable, so you can fold this around, it's not very stiff, and so once we do our collage on this, and lay down the papers and stuff like that, it's going to get thicker. But I might put a layer of burlap inside. I'm not sure. Once I do the collage, I'll I'll sort of gauge how much it has gained in thickness and how much pliable it is, and then I will put a layer of burlap inside, and stitch all around. So I'm going to show you the process entirely. So let me give you the dimensions for this journal. This is around the size of what I did. This is going to be super mini one. So this is around 6 inches. So 6 inches in height. Sorry, my pen. Oh God. So my pen decides not to work. Okay, so we're going to look for another pen. Hopefully this works. So this is going to be 6 inches in height. Okay, so that's that. And since I want this to be a tri-fold journal, I am going to take this as around 14 to 15 inches. I'll tell you why 14 to 15 inches, because I will have to have enough room for this journal to grow. And even though I'm going to make the cover first, after I do the collaging and all sorts of things like that, I'm going to go back and put together my journal papers and see how much thickness this would accommodate, and accordingly I will adjust. Okay, so this is around, the length will be 14 to 15 inches, but I think I have here around 14 inches. I don't have 15 inches because I had 15 inches, but then I think I cut that down. So this is 12. Yeah, so this is 14 and a half inches, so somewhere in between. You can do that also. So then what I'm going to do is, then I'm going to lightly score. Now I don't want a thick fixed score line over here, because I might have to jiggle this a little bit when I put my signature in. So I don't want this to be entirely folded up. So, but more or less I want this to be 5 to 5.5 inches of the size. Just a minute. So you can see, I hope you can see. So this is 5 inches. So this is 5 inches, and I have this bit extra. So what I will do is, I'm going to give it a little bit of wiggle room, and then just guesstimate the amount of fold-in portion I want, this tri-fold portion. So if I think my journal might get thicker, I might adjust this fold also. And if I find that this is too long, I can trim this off and fix that later. So right now the only thing I'm going to do is, I am going to do some collage on this, and first I'm going to stitch this, and then I'm going to do some collage. So first I'm going to cut this up. So I'm using a craft knife just because it's convenient, and what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to sandwich a layer of burlap. I do have a big burlap piece, so I might. So I'm going to come back and show you how I have cut that down. Okay. So this is, you can take 2 separate pieces also, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day you're going to stitch this. So you have your tri-fold stuff ready. So this is 5 inches, and then you will have to give this a little bit of wiggle room, and then you're going to make a triangle fold sort of thing. We're going to work on this later on. So before I proceed further, I'm going to go away and cut a piece of burlap just to line this, and then you'll see how I stitch everything up. So I'll be back in a jiffy. Okay, so I'm back and here I am. I have my burlap piece ready, so you can see. Let me take this out. Okay, so I have my burlap piece ready. So this is going to go in between, sandwiched in between. So, and I also have a little bit of overhang because I want to take off the threads and give this a rustic kind of look. So, so this is going to be like so. So I need not worry about this part because this is going to be folded, so I might do it a little bit differently. I'm not sure about this right now. So the first things first, I am going to, you know, create a kind of triangular stuff over here, because if I do it with the burlap, this is going to get too bulky, so I don't want that to happen. So what I can do is, like over here, what I've done is I have, just let me show. So this was actually an extension that I had put in, so I didn't have any paper on this side, only on one side. So I'll do the same thing over here. I want this burlap to show, and that would give it a little bit of a different kind of look. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off this extra part, you know, this B part, and I'm going to glue this. So first and foremost, we are just trying to gauge the center of this. You don't have to be perfect. So I have not yet decided on which kit I'm going to work with in this journal, but of course I'm going to talk about that in the next part. So so this is how I'm just going to do the fold over part, and the only thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this part of the burlap and I'm going to cover the entire piece and stitch around it, and then I'm going to sandwich this, you know, and I don't need this part totally. I don't need this, so I can just simply trim that off, you know. That needs to be seen. I'm not sure about that right now. So first things first, I'm going to stitch this and come back and show you how it looks. Okay, so I have layered this part up, and I'm going to paper clip, you know, use some those clips and, you know, fix these. I'm going to trim off this part, so because I don't need this part, I'm just going to leave an edge for me to take the threads out, and I'm going to just, you don't have to be perfect again, because we're not going to go for the perfect look. We're going to go for the rustic look, so you don't need to be worried if it's not straight, if it's not perfect. That's okay. So I'm just going to take off the extra bit, and you can use this in any sort of, you know, snippet collage or anything of that sort, so you don't need to throw that away also. So I'm just going to paper clip, you know, clip this, and I would, you know, prefer if you don't have to hear the, you know, awful noise of the sewing machine. I'm looking for more paper clips. You know, when you need these stuff, they just simply disappear. I don't know if it happens to everybody or to me. And I simply, you know, I organize constantly, and somehow, somewhere, when I'm ready to use that stuff, I can't seem to find it. It's a really sad story for me. And then, so here I am. I managed to find these 4, and I still have many more. I had 50 of these. Can you believe it? And now I need to look for them so desperately. So I'm just going to trim off the extra bit a little bit, and then this is just something that I thought I'd add, because I have not seen anybody adding burlap in between 2 layers. So I'm just going to, so I'm going to make 2 of these I don't know, one might be for myself because I really love the size. And honestly, I don't make journals for myself anymore because I don't get the time. And I started my journal making journey by making journals for myself, and that seems sad a little bit if you think I don't get time for myself at all. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of trim, and so even if you find this a little bit irregular at the sides, don't worry, it's going to be okay once I take off the threads. Okay, so I'm not throwing away the extra pieces because I might need them later on to layer things up. So this is how it's looking. And now what I'll do is I will take this part and I'm going to take off this extra bit. I don't need this. So this part is pretty easy and self-explanatory, so I don't think anybody would require, I don't know why it's bunching up. Probably the paper is thin and I'm putting more pressure. So what I'll do is I'll just layer this up. Now I'm not using any glue, as you can see, because you don't need to use glue unnecessarily. I'm just going to paper clip this again using those clips, and I'm going to stitch this. Now if you clip this or if you use glue, this will give a better you'll be able to do this easily without any hassles, and this makes things so much easier. So once you finish this stitching part, we can start gluing things down on the cover, so we can work on that. So I'll be back to show you that how I start. So here we are, our cover is mainly done. So you can see it's pretty easy. It's just the concept that looks difficult, otherwise it's okay. So now we are going to give this a little bit of structure sort of thing, and I want this to be a little bit flexible, so I'm just going to move this around, and so this is going to be like this. I haven't made a journal for myself, as I was saying, for a long while, and I think it's time that I made some for myself, because I used to buy journals from other journal makers, but now I don't get the time to journal also. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking off these threads, just to give this a raggedy kind of look, and I think that goes well with most of the kits that I work. And I don't know, maybe so I'm going to do that. And here I just don't have enough. That's okay, like I don't want this to be perfect. That's the beauty of junk journals, that gives you enough room to make mistakes. So I'm going to keep those threads. I don't throw them away, and this is how the cover is looking. So, and I don't want this to be scored tightly because I'm going to put in the signature, and that's how it's going to look. So it's going to look like this, and you can even keep it like a purse sort of thing. It also looks like an envelope, so if you want to keep it rustic, you can keep it like this. So, but I'm going to collage on the front and the back, and with a basic tissue paper sort of thing, and then I can come back and put in whatever I want. So for the next part, I'm going to work on the cover, decide on the kit, and also I'm going to show you how I select papers and how many I put in. So everybody has their own style, so that's going to be my style and how I go about it. So thank you everybody for watching, and so many I have so many new subscribers who have joined. I hope I can keep up with this tutorial or process video, whatever, because life is so crazy sometimes. You plan something, something goes, something is destined to happen, and then everything else takes a back seat. So the same thing happens with me. So this is how the cover is looking, and I'll be back to show you when I collage on, I decoupage on the cover, because that's going to give it a little bit of more sturdiness. So that's how we're going to roll. So bye everybody. A huge thank you to all my new subscribers, and for subscribing to my channel, and huge hugs to my older subscribers who have stuck around and been like great friends. I have made so many great friendships, and thank you everybody for watching this. So bye, have a great day.